Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the shop. So we got the shocks together, we got the differentials together. They went together a little bit slower than I was hoping, but you know, I'm jumping back into it. It's been a while since I've built anything like that. But I did a little research as far as the battery and charger is concerned. I went ahead and ordered a Traxxas charger and a 2-cell LiPo battery. Apparently, the 2-cell LiPo batteries are compatible with the stock components in the Stampede. So ordered that. It's not going to be in for a few days, unfortunately. But once we get those in, then we can actually start hitting the yard and ripping up the grass. So I'm excited to see how that works out. I went ahead and went with the LiPo just to kind of, you know, jump into something new, and I don't know, I'm excited to see how it works out. So with all that being said, let's hop into the next part of the video where we're going to be getting the front bulkhead and front assembly together. All right, so we are back. Let's take a look at the front module assembly and get that together. So we've got our front bulkhead bag here. Let's get that opened. So it looks like we got our axles here. Some of this stuff is pre-assembled, which is actually pretty nice because as far as axles are concerned, those can usually be a pretty big pain. I'm not going to empty this bag out just yet because I don't want to lose any of this stuff. It all looks pretty important, and there are some really small cotter pins down in there, or just regular pins, not cotter pins. But it does look like we are going to need this pinion carrier, so I'm going to pull that out. Going to need our screws open. Again, probably don't want to empty that out though. And our bearings. Get that open. Also not going to empty that out. All right, so let's take a look. So this front bulkhead part is fairly pre-assembled. I'm assuming this is the like steering arm. This plastic is, I mean, it feels like it'll be pretty durable. It does feel like it'll snap though, instead of flexing at all. So that's something to look out for. But you want weak parts in some places, because otherwise, you know, the weaker parts will protect the more important parts by snapping first. So, but we'll see as it comes together. All right, anyway, so let's orient it that way. Alright, so that sits in there like that, and then we've got our 2 screws. Now, I didn't pay attention to it, but I'm assuming this is correct according to the photo. I'm gonna assume that you want to make sure that this is turned in the right direction before you put this in there, because it doesn't look like it's gonna turn past that point. Alright, so we've got the pinion gear. It's going to go into our differential housing, but we've got 2 bearings, 6x12, 6x12. So yep, I'm just going to drop that down in there like that. I want to make sure it gets seated correctly. Give it a little bit of a press. And get our other bearing down in there. It's a little bit of a tight fit. Press that down in there like that. That seems good. All right. Got our bearings. Then it says front differential cover, so we're looking at this part right there. Pop our little shipping bracket out. And then we've got the front shock tower, these screws. So let's get these screws out. Apply differential grease. So is this the grease that they were talking about? Thrust bearing grease? Have to assume so. Apply drop of grease. Now it doesn't necessarily say that that drop of grease is going directly onto the gears, but I think that's a safe assumption. It's a little bit more than a drop, but better safe than sorry, I guess. Okay. Now we're gonna take that like that. Set that down in there. Seems to rotate fine. And we gotta take our shock tower. So that it is directional, so it seems like it goes on there like that. Okay. Our two longer screws go in these bottom holes. Now I'm assuming that these from the factory ready to run probably have to be built by hand since there's so much screwing. I wonder if they have like a motorized screwdriver or something, like a little small drill. I mean, it's plastic, so you don't want to drill, you know, too hard, but turning these by hand would be, oof, that would be a pain to do for 8 hours. Yeah, I've been doing this for 30 minutes and I feel like I need a drill or something, sandwich and a break. Okay, so this looks like that's gonna hold it in place, or at least press our diff in a little bit more, or the diff cover I should say. But we got to get our A-arms lined up. So this one's stamped with an R. Press that into place. Slide that pin in there. There we go. Make sure that's straight. Slide our pin in there. Feels good. Okay, looks like it goes up like that. Okay. Now we take our screw. Okay. So that's on there. Those A-arms are on there. They feel free-ish. I mean, you don't want them any freer than that, I guess. I guess it doesn't really matter how free they are. They're going to be retained. Alright, so now we get the front lower skid plate on there. TRX. Now I can already tell that this is going to be a nifty little option part. They probably have like there was a company called RPM, I want to say it was. They made a bunch of like plastic composite parts for some of this stuff. That would be a good place for an RPM part. Alright, so okay. starting to look like something starting to come together. Steering blocks. Okay, so we got this one. I wonder if they're stamped. They don't appear to be stamped right or left, but looks like they go like that. And we've got bearings to press inside of them. So, smaller bearing goes in the outside. Like so. Larger bearing goes on the inside. Like so. Now we need a 3x12 millimeter CSS times 4 with the, it's got like a little collar on it. Okay. Never seen a steering setup like this. That's kind of cool how this steering arm sits in this carrier like that. This caster block. So I'm assuming you could probably get some with different levels of casters, just not adjustable caster, it looks like. I mean, you would expect adjustable caster out of like a stadium truck, but maybe not like a Stampede, which is kind of just a mini monster truck, I guess. But we'll see. So we're gonna take our screw there. Start that by hand. Now I'm pretty sure I definitely don't want to over tighten this because it's supposed to be free. But yeah, that flows freely, and both of these screws are bottomed out, so let's get the other one together. So that's both of those hub assemblies done. Now, inner drive shaft. So let's pull these out and see what we got. Okay, so we've got our inner drive shaft and our outer drive shaft. Thankfully, it seems like it will only go in the right way, so you don't have to worry too much about putting that in incorrectly. Just goes in there like that. I'm gonna get my pin. Hoping this goes in there easily. There we go. Yep, that sure was a snap. I don't know if you heard that. But that was a very satisfying snap. I can't wait to do it again. Make sure our drive shaft is there. Then we're going to do that for the other side. Here we go. That super satisfying snap. Let's see if it's just as good the second time. Oh, yeah. Yep, very good. Very good snap. Thank you for that. Okay. So there are hubs and drive shaft assemblies for the front. So looks like you take this like this. It's our right front hub assembly, which is going to be this one. Oh. that fit on there pretty snugly, and it was it definitely felt like it seated perfectly. So that's going to get our screw pin. A good place to screw that in. Slide that in like so. Now it doesn't say anything. I'm assuming I'm just going to screw this until flush. Oh, it bottomed out. Don't want to tighten it too much. That feels good. Don't strip anything. So, nestle it in there like that. Had some pretty aggressive thread on it. Still moves pretty freely, so I don't think I over tightened it or anything. Yeah, feels good. All right, now let's do the other side. Okay. Still pretty free. That feels good. Feels high quality, I have to admit. That's got some sturdiness to it. Now we've got these Camber Links. These feel very flimsy. So maybe they don't need to be strong. I mean, where they're going, there shouldn't be a whole lot of stress there. They're basically just guides to kind of hold the camber in place. So should be okay. Okay, so it goes like this, and these go on the front there. Camber link, bushing, 3mm by 15. Bushing in there. The diagram has me using the top hole, so I'm not going to go with any premeditated adjustments here. I'm just going to use the whatever the instruction manual calls for. We can always adjust our camber and whatnot after the fact. Now again, this is one of those parts that should slide, so we don't want to over tighten this so that it doesn't move freely. But I mean, with the bushing there, it really should be fine no matter how tight you get it. But well, I take that back. It's not super free, but it doesn't feel restrictive, so we're gonna go with that. All right, and then we've got a washer and one of these. Looks like the washer goes on the other side. There we go, washer. And then it looks like the position they have it in is this lower, inner lower position. Feels pretty free. Not restricted at all. I don't feel like it's bottomed out, but I don't want to tighten it anymore. I know I'm gonna mess it up. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's do the other side. All right, it's starting to look like something. Front bumper. And it looks like we got our 2 skinny screws up top. And our bulkier screws down here. Okay, now we're gonna get these shocks on there. Take one of these, push it in there like that. Put our washer on there. So the middle hole there is where we're putting it. So this bracket's kind of cool because it feels like it kind of guards the shock from, you know, debris and whatnot. So that's a pretty nifty way of attaching it. Although it does seem kind of confusing. This spacer somehow is supposed to sit there. That's not going to stay in place. Alright, gonna have to be magical. Got it to stay in place. So I don't think you have to worry too much about over tightening that, because the screw and that eyelet is going to spin in place anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But again, don't over tighten it to the point where anything breaks. Let's get this part in there. Oh yeah, that feels good. I gotta say, this is well constructed. I like this. I like this a lot. All right, let's try that with the other side. Feels good. Feels like suspension. That's exciting. That is exciting. All right. Okay, so next and finally, it looks like we need the steering bag. Take this bottom bell crank, and then it looks like this spacer goes in the bottom there. Yep. It's like a bushing. And then bell crank sleeve. I think that. I wonder if that's supposed to click. Yep. And the other bushing. That's an interesting fit. Washer. And this screw. Is that right? Okay. And it looks like this slides on there like that. Now again, on the steering component, you definitely want to make sure you don't tighten it down too much, because you want that to be free moving. I think it's not super free, but it's also not super restrictive, so this should be fine. Let's see, dog link. Looks like it goes in there like that. And these go in there. Again, with this stuff, I don't think you want to tighten it down too much, because you want it to be pretty free. I mean, that feels, it's not like loose, but I don't think I want a whole lot of resistance on the servo, you know. It's the stock servo, so I don't want to burn it out too soon, but that should be fine. Okay. Install toe links. I think that's the right screw. This side does not look directional, but we do need to put that in from the bottom, so there's the steering system. Doesn't feel restrictive. I think it should be fine. Completed front module assembly. Dun, 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 dun. Check your assembly carefully. Yeah. Okay, so that's our completed front assembly, and you've got the suspension. Seems like it's in good working shape. The drive shaft, the axles are in good shape. Our steering components in good shape. So that's a pretty complete, pretty sturdy. It feels good quality, I have to admit. You know, it's all mostly plastic. There's some metal parts here and there, but like even these parts that I thought would be really flimsy, they feel sturdy when everything is kind of in place. So I've got high hopes for the durability of this car. It is also kind of nifty that this whole front section basically is self-contained. I know on my TC3, the diff housings, they kind of sit on the chassis tub, so you know, in order to replace any of that stuff, you've kind of got to dig into the whole car. This almost seems like I could just take this whole front end off, fix it, repair it, or you know, modify it and then just shove it right back onto the entire chassis. So that's exciting. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for this episode. On the next episode, we're going to get into the rear module assembly. So we're gonna do the front and then the rear, and then looks like we're gonna put the center of the chassis together. Thanks for checking out that episode of LukeShop. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, subscribe down below and ring the notification bell so that you're notified the next time a video drops. Also, like the video and leave a comment down below. Let me know how you're liking the format, and I'll check you out next time.